Hey everyone, this is Tom and welcome to another edition of Saturday Sketching. For this project, you'll need paper, pencils, a good eraser, and a ruler. Today we're going to be working on a seasonal triptych. Alright, so here we are at the end of our journey. Today we're going to be doing a drawing of someone on a paddleboard, which will round out the triptych that we decided to do for our outdoor sports sort of series. So why don't we get right into it? I'm going to start by figuring out where in our paper here our character is going to be. Hope you don't mind the heavy shadows going on over here. It's a little later in the day, but you should be able to see everything all right. So I'm going to I think I'm going to start over here. We're going to do a drawing of the person with a paddleboard, what's it called, a stick, an oar probably, something like that. Look, I don't do a lot of paddleboarding, I'm not gonna lie. But we're gonna have a person's hand holding that in front of them. And that's what will sort of kick this off for us and help us figure out the rest of the image. So 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers. It always helps to count. You never know. Sometimes, you know, even now you could still mess up how many fingers a human being has. Or at least I can. Throw the thumb underneath. Because if you look at it through perspective, you know, the thumb kind of disappears. The detail of the thumb disappear behind the hand. So you can have it curve around like that if you want. Let me do the other side of the arm here. Swing the arm around this way. No, you know, we don't want to distract from what we're currently focusing on, but you want to start thinking about, you know, if you were designing the image, you'd want to start thinking about where the rest of the environment is going to sit around the start of this figure. You know, but, you know, we'll get to that pretty soon. I think I'm going to make this a guy. He's going to have some trunks and maybe a shirt, like a wetsuit sort of style shirt going on, but we'll get to that part. We also have to consider how this water is going to connect to the environment of the last two drawings. Now, you remember we had characters on a skateboard and a bicycle, and we sort of have to figure out how we're going to have this paddleboard situation in the same sort of realm as those two. So once we get his whole figure situated, then we can sort of figure out how the water is going to relate to the rest of the environments that we created, which, granted, are not very complicated, so it shouldn't be too hard for us. You want to put a little curve here at the end of this leg to show, you know, the knee bending. Simple shapes to outline for the feet, and then we can go in and make them more complicated. Another curve over here for the knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 toes. And then, of course, you can go in and erase the more scribbly line work if you want to get detailed with your drawing. And 5. Again, there goes those detail lines. I'm going to do a little shirt right there. And what I think I'm going to do is start with the head over here. again, you can sort of design the characters to look however you want them to look. I'm just going to do my own thing here. Put some hair in there for the top of his head. You might want to do another gal with, you know, longer hair or something like that. Up to you. Or you can do a guy with like a Elvis pompadour. Whatever you want to do is cool. Let's see here. And the neck, and then just a little collar line there for the shirt. Here it gets a little complicated. What we're gonna do is like the shoulder should be up here somewhere, probably hiding behind his head, so we don't really even have to draw that, but we will have a line coming down this way connecting to this, which will be the other arm. Have this swing up. Now this is going to be something that's important because the two hands are going to be holding one long or stick or whatever it's called. And it's got to be it's a pretty solid, rigid object. So we're going to use our ruler here to sort of rule out where we're going to have this stretch out. So we'll do a line here. Keep an eye on where the hand is so that you can connect. Where it doesn't have to be that far out. I'm going to erase some of this. Keep in mind, when you're first doing the ruler line work, you're not going to use all of this. But you want to give yourself enough space to work with so you can finish the drawing where it needs to be finished. Now, okay, so we have this first line. Now what I'm going to do, being very careful not to adjust the angle of the ruler, I'm going to slide it down a couple of little inches, just like that. So that's a little farther out. And once again, we're going to do another straight line. And there we sort of have a thicker sort of stick. It looks like I kind of, looks like I messed up a little bit. Not so much messed up, but you know, you can sort of see that the width of the oar is a little bit longer down here than it is up here, but that's okay. We can sort of let perspective sort of trick us into thinking that it's the right size. And you know when you draw something in perspective, it widens as it gets closer to you. So that should work well enough. Now what I'm gonna do here is, okay, here I'm gonna have this character's hand holding the top of the oar or paddle. I guess it's a paddle, right? It's called a paddle board. Why wouldn't it be called a paddle? If it wasn't, wouldn't it? If it's an oar, wouldn't it be an oar board? I do like that name. That does sound cool. Oar board. I don't know. I'm just rambling. Anyway, so we got our hand here. Don't forget 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure that's the right amount of fingers. I'm actually going to adjust this one down here because I'm looking at it and you know what? I kind of don't like the way it looks. And it's okay. You can leave yours. You don't have to change yours. If you like the way it looks in yours, that's great. You got it right on the first time, better than I did. You know, sometimes you look at something after you've drawn it and you go, oh, actually, that didn't work as well as I thought it was going to. That's what the eraser's for, you know. You just go over it, try it again. Okay, so I better do the end of our paddle here. I guess it's a paddle. I want to finish drawing this paddle so I don't have to keep trying to figure out what to call it as I'm referencing it. Here we go. He's got his paddle thing. And now let's get to the board part. So it's not going to be a straight line exactly because the shape of a paddle board is pretty wide. So just carefully eyeballing it. I'm just going to try to, you want it to try and bend upwards at the top there. And then this side's going to wrap around. You want to make sure that, at the very least, your character's feet are within the middle of the board. Unless they're doing it poorly, that is. Okay, and then you can add a design to it if you want. Or you can just leave it plain. That's cool too. Okay, I never gave our guy a face. Poor guy, he doesn't even have a face to enjoy his paddle boarding with. All right, so why don't I do an eyebrow right here. Another eyebrow right here. A couple of eyes. This is a more cartoony look, so I just did a sort of line for the top of the eyelid and then a circle for the actual eye. Little nose. Give him a big old smile because he's enjoying himself. Oh, he's looking like he's having some fun. You can do another line down here to sort of make it a little more, not three-dimensional, but add a little bit more detail to it. Same thing with down here with the knees. Just a little bit of line, then you can, add some designs to, maybe he's wearing a funky bathing suit. There we go, something fun, something tropical. Fun design to his little swim shirt here. There we go. Now, we have the tough part of figuring out the background. Now, using your other drawing, I don't have my old drawings here with me right now, but what you should do is have your old other drawings of the bicyclist and the skateboarder next to you so you can measure out where on the page the background the horizon line will sit. Now, I have pre-figured that out, so I'm just going to put my ruler down and draw the line. But what you should definitely do is have your other drawing sit right next to you so you can measure it out, sort of eyeball it that way. Use your ruler. Careful not to go across the drawing of your character here who is in the foreground, which means he's in the front. And you want the background, of course, to be in the back. Okay, so that's where our horizon line sits, and you can sort of, if there's enough space. Now, this is a tricky thing because his hand sort of falls exactly where, the horizon line connects back here. And having those lines intersect is a bit distracting, so we're actually going to leave that open. But you may find that your drawing doesn't exactly fall into that exact space, and that's fine. You can just draw straight across then. And yeah, if you wind up accidentally drawing across your character, you can always erase and fix it that way. Just add a couple of details there, I just noticed. Now, the skateboarder and the bicyclist are, obviously riding on a street that kind of curves and goes around. So what we're going to do here is, and again, determining where, with your last drawing, determining where exactly in the space that street lands is important because you want to keep things consistent as you go across. Again, having the drawing next to you, you should definitely do that and, measure it up and see where the end of the street is on your last drawing and connecting it to the street on your new drawing. All right, and once you figure that out, then we can start doing the drawing of the actual street. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have it, you can get a little, strange with your design of the street. You can have it just go straight. You can have it curve a little bit. I'm going to have it curve a little bit just for fun. And that's that. And then what I'm going to do is, now he has to be on water, obviously. Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense. Why would you paddleboard on land? It seems a little silly. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a little bit of water for him to, ride across. And don't mind that. That was just a scrap of paper that I used. I usually put some kind of scrap behind my drawing so that I don't, mess up the table underneath. But that's mostly with markers that I do that. It's a good trick to do, especially if you're using something like Sharpies. But I'm using a pencil today, so I guess it's just habit that I decided to do that. Anyway, if you're interested, if you ever use Sharpies for a drawing, that's a good tip. Now, what we're going to do is, I'm just going to draw a little curve here to suggest the start of the water. And this is a sort of cartoony, so it's not going to be realistic. Why would the water start like that, just randomly? You sort of want to eyeball exactly, across where it's going to go. And then we're going to have it extend past the road here and keep going so that he's sort of paddleboarding off into the wild or something. And what I'm going to do is add some wavy lines here to indicate that this is the water that he's on. There you go, he's in the water, getting ready to go. And then if you want, you can obviously add some kind of clouds or something in the background. And if you don't have them in your old drawings, you can go in and add them or add nothing to them, and that's fine too, But yeah, there you go. We have ourselves a paddleboard rider, I guess? Paddler? I don't know, but he's on the paddleboard, and he looks like he's having a good time. Now you can take all three drawings and put them together, and they'll make a cool triptych of some people engaging in some outdoor sports, which is a lot of fun. It's the perfect time for that. It's getting nice and hot. So this will be a good image set to have in the spirit of the season. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed doing these drawings. Hopefully we'll have a bit more of this sort of stuff in the future with a different subject. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks a lot. Take care.